Hey guys, so today we are working on how to find unit rate using a table. So my favorite way to find unit rate is by using a table because I feel like it's easier method. So let's go ahead and read this problem and work our way through it. It says a recipe says that 2 cups of dry rice will serve 6 people. Complete the table as you answer the questions. Be prepared to explain your reasoning. So before we even answer the questions, we're going to go ahead and finish the table. So notice that I have 1 up here at the top because we want to know how many people can 1 cup of rice feed. So we're going to go ahead and solve that first. We always want to solve for 1 first. So even if 1 isn't on your table, I want you to get into the habit of adding 1 to it, whether it's at the top or the bottom, so that we can solve for it. And from there, it'll be easier to solve for the rest of the table. So we're going to go ahead and start from the second number, number 2. So we want to move our way up to the 1. So if I were to go from 2 to 1, I need to think to myself, what do I need to do in order to turn 2 into 1? Well, I'm going to go ahead and divide 2 by 2. So if I take 2 and divide it by 2, it's going to give me 1. So whatever I do on one side of my table, I want to get into the habit of doing the same on the other side of my table. So if I start with 6 and I want to get to whatever my answer is, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to divide by 2. So 6 divided by 2. I got to think about that for a second. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So for every 1 cup of rice, I can feed 3 people. So now that I know how many people 1 cup of rice can feed, I want to work my way down the table. So if I notice, so for every 1 cup of rice is 3 people. And then I have 2 cups of rice feeds 6 people. Well, I took 2 and I multiplied it by 3 to give me 6. That makes sense. Okay, so if I do the same thing on my way down the rest of the way, well, then I'm going to have 3 times 3 gives me 9. That makes sense too. So now I'm going to go with 10. So 10 times 3 would give me what? Think about it for a second. 10 times 3. Well, that's easy. That gives me 30. Now when I get to that last row on my table, it's a little bit different because now I know how many people, but I don't know how many cups of rice. So now I have to think of what is the opposite of multiplication? Because if I multiply to the right, then I'm going to do the opposite to the left. So I know that I have multiplication and division. So the opposite of multiplication would be division. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 45 by 3. So remember, you can use your calculator, you can use your paper and your pencil. 45 divided by 3. Let's think. What could that give me? 45 divided by 3 gives me 15. Very good. So now I'm going to look at those questions because remember, you always have to go back and answer. A says, how many people will 10 cups of rice feed? Well, if I look at my answer choices, it says 10 cups of rice feeds 30 people. So the answer to A would be 30. Then it says, how many cups of rice are needed to serve 45 people? Well, if I look right here, I know that it took 15 cups to feed 45 people. So let's go ahead and erase this and look at our next slide. It says a recipe says that 6 spring rolls will serve 3 people. So we're going to do the same thing we did in the other table to fill out this table. Let's see. So remember, we always want to start with figuring out how to go from our second number to our 1. So in order to go from 6 to 1, I know I'm going to need to divide by 6 because 6 divided by 6 gives me the number 1. So whatever you do on one side, you're going to do on the next. I'm going to write that right here. Whatever you do on one side, you do to the other. I want to keep that in mind. So if I divided 6 by 6 to get 1, remember, I want to take this second number and do the same thing. So I'm going to divide it by 6. Remember, it doesn't mean that I'm going to do 3 divided by 3. It means I'm going to do exactly what I did on the first side. So if I do 3 divided by 6, I got to think about that for a second. If I do 3 divided by 6, well, it's not going to give me a whole number. It's going to give me a fraction. So I can either put 1/2 in here or 0.5 because 1/2 and 0.5 are the same thing. They're equivalent. So now I want to do the same thing all the way down. So I got to think about it. 1 spring roll feeds half a person. Okay, so let's see, what can we do? So if remember, from the left to the right, we're going to multiply. And from the right to the left, we're going to divide. So if I take 6 times 0.5, it gives me 3. Okay, so that works. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 30. I'm going to take 30 times 0.5. You can also do times 1/2. And let's see what that's going to give me. If I use my calculator, it'll be 30 times 0.5 equals, it gives me 15. Then I'm going to do the same thing with 40. 40 times 0.5. Let's see what that gives me. times 0.5, that gives me 20. Okay, so remember, from right to left, we do the opposite. So I'm going to go ahead and do 28 divided by 0.5, and let's see what that gives me. So let's see. 28 divided by 0.5, that gives me 56. Very good. So now that I've shown you how to do it, I want you to try.